competitive deck building, and all things Pokemon. It's the Pokemon Podcast. Welcome to Draw7TV with your hosts, Matt Horse, Andrew Martin, and Shane Chettle.
Welcome to the first edition of the Draw7TV Podcast. I'm Matt Horst, and alongside we have...
Andrew Martin here, and Shane Chettle.
How are you guys?
Doing well, Matt. You just picked up the brand new Sun and Moon game, didn't you?
I literally just got back from the store with Sun, Ultra Sun, and that 2DS XL. I'm so excited.
Now, folks, in case you didn't know, he has been drooling over this game since its release. I picked it up at the midnight release.
Well, here's the problem, right? So you're coming over.
Yeah.
Shane's coming over. A bunch of other friends are coming over, and they're all playing this game. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, it'd be real nice to play this game. Well, now I can.
It's got all your favorite Pokemon in it, too, right?
Lycanroc. Obviously, I knew he was in there. Zoroark. Found out Hawlucha's in it.
It's like in the first island.
Yeah,
Spoilers, but he's in the first island.
Yeah, no. A buddy of mine actually texted me at 2:40 in the morning with a picture of a Hawlucha that he caught, and I woke up. I couldn't fall back to sleep. I was so angry.
Dreaming about Hawluchas.
Yeah, he's my favorite, of course. But anyway.
What start are you going to pick?
Rowlet.
Rowlet?
Going with Rowlet.
What'd you pick, Shane?
When I first played Moon, I picked Rowlet, and I was 100% positive I was going to pick Rowlet again. But this time, surprisingly, in the moment, I went with Litten, and I don't regret it in the slightest.
Okay, then we're opposite then. I started Litten the first game, so I picked Rowlet this time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did, too. I played Sun, and you know what? It's funny. I actually didn't finish Sun.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so I'm still, So I got about 25-30% away in through Sun, and
You just couldn't wait. You have to go.
I'm just ready to rock and roll.
Gotta get those Hawluchas.
That's right. I'm so ready for
all
Hawluchas.
Hawlucha team.
Yeah, oh man, I'm so excited. Well, anyhow, welcome to the Draw7TV Podcast. We're so very excited. This has been something we've been talking about doing for quite a long time, and it's really our hopes, and you guys can jump in on this as well, but it's really our hope to bring some quality content to the listeners, and not only through a podcast form, but through our YouTube page, through our Twitch channel, things like that. We're really trying to put all these things together, and we're very excited. But this is episode number 1, and we just kind of want to tell you a little bit about ourselves and what we hope for the podcast and things like that. And Andrew, let's start with you.
So yeah, you started to bring me on for some of the tabletop matches, and we were talking about maybe trying to get doing more content like this. And I think we all have been. You started. When did you start playing the TCG?
Let's see. So it was. I want to say roughly around 2 years ago. To the date, today is the 28th. So, yeah, it's been a few years now.
Yeah, I started at the start of this year around Evolutions when it came out. And then, Shane, when did you start?
I actually started right before Sun and Moon came out, the cards. I got into it because I've been playing the video games my entire life. And as soon as that set came out, I instantly jumped on board, and you guys were really welcoming, brought me into the group. And actually, you were one of the first people that I met at League.
Yeah, I think we actually have close, Pokemon IDs. I think we started around the same time. Yeah. But yeah, so I came in around then, and now, I feel like I've been around the game enough. I want to actually share some more content.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think too just how knowledgeable of the game you can be.
Right.
Even just under a short amount of time. I mean, I know from watching you guys play and listening to what you guys have to say, it's been pretty impressive to me that just how much you guys really know. So, really excited to have you on board.
Yeah, it goes in a cycle because there's so many content creators out there. Cycling information all the time. So it's going to feel really good to get back to that. For sure.
Well, we welcome you with open arms, Andrew. Very excited to have you on the podcast.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to see where this goes.
For sure. And Shane, so you've only been playing, man, not that long then.
No, yeah, roughly right at a year, the card game. I've played other card games before, but this is definitely one that has stuck with me, and I think I'm going to be playing for a very long time because it is just a great environment, brought together so many good friends. I met you guys through it, and it's just been a great experience so far.
Yeah, and Andrew, I'll ask you this question in a minute, but first, Shane, so why Pokemon? Why did one day you just said, oh, this looks fun?
Well, I remember growing up, it just always seemed very appealing. There was lots of people at my school that I knew did play it. It was just kind of a popular thing. So I jumped onto it a little bit late. It was around 3rd gen when I jumped on. So I ended up getting Fire Red was my very first game.
Wow, okay, cool. So you've been playing for a while in the video game side of things.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
But as I said, I never touched the card game. I had a few, of course, like I'd buy a couple packs when I was a kid, so I have quite a few old cards, but never did anything with them, just collected them. But it's really cool to look back at those.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, only for the last year have I actually learned how to play. Got pretty competitive there for a little bit, and still am just completely in love with the card game, Pokemon in general. I've been unable to put down Ultra Sun. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be very repetitive, just like the original game.
Right.
But they have changed enough to make it very interesting, and I'm about 30 plus hours in right now and still having a blast.
Well, that's a conversation we can have later as well. I know we're all excited about playing the VGC side of things, so that's going to be really cool. So, Andrew, so what made you think, okay, Pokemon, yeah, let's do it?
Well, it's weird for me because I basically started playing in diapers because, having an older brother, you just kind of get thrown into the same stuff. So he had a Game Boy, I had a Game Boy, and my first game was Yellow when it came out. So I've been every single game since then, basically since I've been alive, just keep playing the games. Collected the cards every now and then. Like as a kid, of course, I'll buy packs. Like, Mom, give me packs. I was really actually into Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid. I don't even know why, but it's just the game itself. It was fun, but the problem I had with it just kept changing, and I couldn't get back into it every few years. But I knew I loved card games. Just trading card games were fun to me. So combining the fact that I've just always been around Pokemon, and I'm an adult, I can buy my own stuff, I'm like, hey, I'm going to pick up Pokemon. So I went to my local card shop, picked up a Elite Trainer box of Evolutions, which, looking back now, it's like, well, that was a bummer. But it was really cool because the old cards meant a lot to me. So got in from there, started to join the local leagues where I met you guys at.
Yeah, I remember the first day you came in, or the first day I met you. So we're streaming, right? We got this tournament going. We're streaming. Andrew walks in.
My first ever match in person. This man puts me on stream.
I'm like, hey, yeah, come on over. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Because we got paired.
Right.
Yeah.
In a tournament. And I have it's everyone's like first tag. Oh, well, here's what the EXs I like. This man whoops me 2-0. And I'm like having a blast. Like, I'm on stream. It was so much fun. But no, it's crazy now that we're working together.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that, and it's really cool though. It shows what really the game can do.
So yeah, and then from there, I'm still playing. I'm going to be at Memphis very soon. I've been going to a lot of regionals between that, so very excited for seeing how just keep playing this game. It's fun,
and hopefully VGC in the near future.
Yeah, we're gonna give that a shot too. I think we're all gonna try to see what happens there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And for me, yeah. So I was working one day at the store. I work at a comic book store, and my boss said, I actually wasn't working there at the time. He said, you playing the games, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I play some board games, things like that. And I was like, man, I'd really like to get in some kind of card game or something like that. And he showed me the Regirock starter deck. And I thought Regirock was super cool. I was like, oh, okay, Pokemon. Yeah, I remember this from when I was a kid. I never got into it as a kid. And so we opened up the box. I'm looking through all the cards. My wife's here. She's, she knew a lot more than I did, was super into it. So we sat down at the table. He breaks his deck out, and I'm trying to remember for the life of me, what was that deck?
Was that Ancient Origins you were?
Yeah, so it was Ancient Origins when I jumped on, yeah. I can't remember the deck. But anyway, smoked me. Of course, I was playing a theme deck, which, it is what it is. But that's what got me into the game, and I've fallen in love with it ever since because it's one of those card games where it's really easy to play, but it's hard to master, and I think that's what's fun about the game itself. So, enough rambling, but that's how I got into the game, and very excited. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick in our opening segment is about what we hope for with Draw7TV. Now, we've been doing some tabletop matches on our YouTube page, and we've been doing pretty well with those. We're ever evolving those things and trying to make them better as we move forward, but we're doing that. But then the idea of a podcast came up with my career in radio and things like that. I thought, I want to jump back in on the mic and try something cool, and thankfully you guys were down to do it.
Yeah, I think there's a gap in the amount of content out on that format. I do think Super Broadcast, Draw Gaming, they do a great job.
Oh, amazing job! Yeah.
And but yeah, it's definitely something that I think is very unique to you, Matt. I think that's your background, that is your passion, really. So when you brought it up, I was thinking, absolutely, I'd love to be part of this project with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I know Shane, you're excited. We brought you on initially. Hey, you want to do the news segment thing, and you're all about it. So.
I am absolutely honored that you guys thought to have me on the show. I thought that as soon as you guys started talking about it, it was a great idea. I was excited to just listen, so to be a part of it, I am I'm overjoyed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we hope you out there, the listener or the viewer of our YouTube page, we really want you to enjoy the content and always comment and let us know what you think of the content, what we could do better, what we could do different, or maybe we're doing fine. That's also good to know as well. But very excited for the future, guys. Really am. All right, so we'll jump into our first segment of the show coming up after this break. It's the news segment with Shane Chettle. And Shane, you got some good news for us on the show today.
Oh, I am very excited to share with you guys.
Cool. So we got Prism stuff happening. We've got some big tournaments that just happened as well, and blah, 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 blah. So it's going to be a good news segment. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
We'll jump into more of that here on the Draw7 TV podcast coming up. While we're in between segments here on the Draw7 TV podcast, just wanted to remind you to check out our YouTube page. We're putting up weekly content there, and we'll continue to do so in the months moving forward. If there's anything that you'd like to see, please let us know. You can email us at draw7tv@gmail.com. That's draw7tv@gmail.com. We hope to hear from you soon, and we hope you're enjoying the Draw7 TV podcast here on the Draw7 TV network. It's time for the Draw7 TV News radio segment with Shane Chettle.
All right, thank you, Matt. All right, so today's news, we are going to be talking about the news from the upcoming Memphis Regional. All right, so we have heard that the seats are filling up fast. They roughly have 1,100 TCG seats already filled up. Above 900 of these seats alone are Masters Division. Now, aside from that, there's only, surprisingly, roughly 100 seats filled up for the VGC, which I am very surprised by this. I'm not sure if...
Yeah, so I think this is a common trend we see with VGC. What's more alarming is just how many Masters we're seeing in one event. This will definitely be the largest event of the year. Sadly, though, only top 32 payout.
Wow, that's interesting. Only top 32 payout for that many people.
So we'll see is a day 2 top 64 maybe.
Wow.
But only a top 32 payout.
And with only 1,328 seats available, they are already almost at maximum capacity. So if you plan on signing up, I'd recommend doing it soon.
What this shows me is TCG, Pokemon in general, it's a thing now, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's really cool to see that the TCG side of things really taking off. Before I got into Pokemon, I would have thought it would have been opposite. I would have thought VGC would have been the thing.
I agree completely. Whenever I got into it, I believed that the VGC ruled everything, and that the trading card game was just kind of a side thing going on. So I am blown away and very excited to see how fast it's growing.
Yeah, and major props to Top Cut Events for being super transparent about their numbers. I know we saw that problem in London where the seats opened up really quickly, and even some of the professional players had a hard time getting their spots with the stipend. So major props to Top Cut Events for letting players know the immediacy of seats. So if you're planning to go to this regional, please go to their website, sign up as fast as you can. Those seats might not be there.
Yeah, and I think it's only right to let people know, okay, you're going to be traveling,
Right.
We don't want you to drive all this way for nothing.
It's a big deal.
So, I think that's great that they're being so transparent about it. Shane, what's next?
All right. The next thing that I was very interested in talking about today is the new and returning mechanics to the card game. All right, so as many of you may or may not know, there is a mechanic known as the Lost Zone. It's been lost to the card game for quite a while now, but we're seeing a return. All right, and this is returning with the Prism Star cards. Now, so far we have seen Prism Star Pokemon and supporter cards. And so the way that these work is you are only allowed one of each Prism Star card in each deck. And thankfully, Andrew clarified this for me. I thought it was originally only one Prism Star card per deck. It's just one of each type.
I don't know if anybody remember the old cards, the old star cards. Mm-hmm. You only could have one star card in your deck. So it's like that, but now they've changed it so it's a little bit more open.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I was hesitant and a little confused on that, so thank you for clarifying. So, again, you are allowed one of each different type of Pokemon if you want. And so, as said, they have Prism Star Pokemon and supporters, but there is also rumored Energy. I did not know about this prior to recording. Andrew brought this up. Have you heard anything else about it, or is it still just rumors?
It's all just rumors right now. We just saw the supporter mechanics come out, so I'm going to guess it's going to have some huge effect. No idea what they're going to do with it, though. I'm very interested to see how it's going to turn out.
Awesome. And but the way that these cards work is you are only allowed one of each type, and as soon as it is discarded, not knocked out or anything, as soon soon as it is discarded, instead of going into the discard pile, it is immediately sent to the lost zone. And once something is in the lost zone, you are unable to get it back. It is gone for the rest of the game.
Here's the thing. So is this new mechanic really going to screw the game up? Is it going to make the game more complicated? Well, that's the thing I'm worried about, right? I mean, it sounds really fun on paper, and it looks like it could be really cool. I mean, it's got a cool name and everything. But
absolutely.
How is it in the scheme of things going to work in TCG for the players?
Well, Matt, obviously, we remember the A-Specs were very popular, still are at Expanded. You could definitely have one A-Spec, well, only one A-Spec in your deck. And you have the large ones like Life Dew, Dowsing Machine, Computer Search. Those really just changed the format of the game and made certain decks just viable. This, we could see a similar light where it's making certain archetypes workable.
Sure.
Having that huge advantage, especially with the new Sol Galeo. That's going to be a huge boost for Metal.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to stay positive on this. Very excited for the whole idea, and I can't wait to see where it goes. All right, Shane, what's next up on the list?
All right, up next, we would like to talk about the tournament results of the recent European Internationals and the San Jose Regionals.
And it was crazy. All of it was just absolutely crazy, wasn't it, Andrew?
Right, especially a huge meta shift, one I was not expecting to see. No, not that much Garbodor. Can you believe that?
You know what? Actually, I can. Here's the thing. I'm not surprised, right? Garbodor is in place to slow the game down. It did. People are adjusting. I'm not surprised, but I'm okay with it.
You know what I think did him in? That new Zoroark. Zoroark GX.
Zoroark is very, very good.
Hits 120. There's good numbers on that. Yeah. Also, that draw ability we used to see on old Empoleon is now back.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm very excited that the meta is shifting for sure.
Yeah, I have the list of the some the top 10 lists.
Sure.
Listen to these Zoroark variants. You have, of course, Toad Radcliffe, who won with the Zoroark Golisopod. Which he makes sure to say, Zoroark Golisopod, not Golisopod Zoroark.
Exactly,
just
right.
to emphasize the importance.
It's a Zoroark deck with Golisopod added.
And then you have Zoroark Buzzwole, Zoroark Decidueye, Zoroark Metal Box, Whistle Valley. It's crazy. There's a lot of this card has found its way into.
Yeah, we saw some of that over in Japan. We saw that Zoroark was just everywhere. And so I'm not surprised that it's being used so much. However, I know the meta over there is quite different.
Right.
So it's interesting to see that this card is so good that it can be in two different metas and work very good in both.
I think one card that's not getting enough praise is Lycanroc.
Yes.
Bloodthirsty Eyes Lycanroc.
I am so hyped on this card. I've been hyped on Bloodthirsty Eyes for a long time, thinking to myself, why isn't this card played more than it is?
Right.
It's so good.
The Buzzwole Lycanroc deck took the 5th and 6th place at London.
That's absolutely crazy. Good for them.
Absolutely. And we had one more also big tournament, San Jose.
Yeah.
This past weekend. Talk about meta shifts. Gyarados in the top 8.
That is awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
Piloted by Ahmed Ali. That top 5. That's crazy.
That's
and
awesome.
Less surprisingly, 3 Night March decks on the top 4 spots. Azul Grigo taking the top spot there, followed by Michael Prama and Raul Reddy also piloting the Night March. I think they're also the same list.
Wow, that's incredible. And I'm not surprised. Night March is a very good deck. You know what I am surprised about with Night March, though, is that it's been going around for so long now. It's such a good deck. I know people are trying to tech against it, with the Oricorio and things like that, but it's still good.
Yeah. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
And there keeps being new cards added that seem to be helping it out.
Yeah, this is definitely the situation in this case. But, some great tournaments this past month or so. Always love when Pokemon's got something going on. And, all right, Shayna, what is next on the list?
That actually covers it for today,
All
Matt.
right. Well, we thank you for stopping in with the news, and we'll have more on the Draw7TV podcast coming up after this. While we prepare for the next segment, just wanted to remind you to check out our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/Draw7TV. That's youtube.com/Draw7TV. We'll be updating it weekly with new content, including an awesome new Let's Play series. More details on that in our next episode of the podcast. Make sure to check that out. And we'll have several new tabletop matches as we move forward as well. It's all available to you on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Draw7TV. Welcome back to the Draw7TV podcast. Matt Horst here with you alongside Andrew Martin and Shane Chettle. And we're now talking about the standard format and some big things happening in London, Andrew. And I think there's one word that we can use to just explain the whole thing. Zoroark.
Zoroark. Man, that card, talk about like shifting the meta. I knew it was going to be good, but, I mean, let me read off these like different deck lists. This is just like the top 32. You have like Zoroark Golisopod, Zoroark Decidueye, like Zoroark like Buzzwole. It's like,
Just,
how much Zoroark can we have?
Just splash it into anything.
And that card itself, it has its own like archetype where it's like, not only is it a great attacker, like just 120 is its like what it hits, and it's just for a DCE, which easy to set up.
Well, that's the key thing right there, is that I think a lot of people were initially looking at the ability of the card. And while the ability is amazing, here's my thing: it can hit 120, right? Just like that, 150 with a choice band. So to me, it's an amazing attacker, especially that 210 HP. I mean, even though we're in a meta right now where we're hitting big numbers on attacks, 210 is not necessarily easy to hit. I mean, you got to still have the right numbers to do that.
And if, let's just say, like, Golisopod Zoroark, you're playing Acerola.
Right.
So, like, if you're not one-shotting it, you're just going to Acerola them back up, and you're easy to streamline. So, as a stage 1, really easy to set up. So I think it's consistent. Yeah,
we'll discuss towards the list here coming up in just a bit on the segment. And but yeah, I mean, Zoroark is just so good. Now, Shane, have you meddled around with Zoroark at all in any of your builds or anything like that?
I was very interested in Zoroark. I picked up one of the boxes whenever it came out, but I actually ended up trading mine to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, shortly. But I proxied out a Zoroark build very briefly. It wasn't really my playstyle. I see everything about the card that makes it amazing. But yeah, it didn't really fit my playstyle, so I ended up trading off the parts that I did have. So I haven't had the opportunity to play around with it as much as I should have and want to.
Which, yeah, I mean, that could be something we could talk about later on, too. So, Zoroark, is it for everybody? I mean, right? I mean, you naturally, right, Andrew? I mean, we naturally think, okay, Zoroark, it's a good card, so we naturally going to fit it in everywhere.
Yeah, it's not like Shaman. It's not like you could just put a 2/2 line of Zoroark in every deck and expect it to just do its thing and work. But, I mean, and like I said, we can talk about this later, but there's a lot of decks that just benefit from having that solid attacker and that draw support. We can. It's definitely showing its point, its weight in standard and expanded. And of course, we'll talk about that later with Night March. But in standard, it looks like Zoroark Golisopod is dominating the format right now. I'm seeing all these League Cup results that are like Zoroark Golisopod, Guardy, Zoroark Golisopod. And then in the regionals with Tord, or actually internationals rather, we're just dominating like the whole bracket with this Zoroark Golisopod. It's crazy.
Well, and I think one of the big things about it is the use of Acerola, max potions as well. I mean, not maybe as much as Acerola in that list, but I mean, you're able to hit a big number, and then if they hit you for anything under 210, then that's pretty much it for them.
Here's the other thing I like a lot about Zoroark. So Mallow. Just being able to,
of course.
I used to play Glade Artillery whenever it was, because it's such a fun deck, and it's the same idea. You Mallow, get the 2 cards you want, and draw it off Artillery. The only problem with that, you had to ensure you're going to get 2 cards off Artillery. Zoroark doesn't care. You're getting 2 cards no matter what, as long as you can discard a card from your hand. So just Mallow, get the 2 cards you want. Maybe it's a choice band DCE to set up a knockout. Boom, there you go. And I think in every, like Golisopod, if you want to get those 2 pieces of puzzle you need to go, get what you need to discard, Mallow. If you need to set up a Golisopod real quick, Mallow. It's just, you can use that engine to your advantage.
Well, I was throwing this idea around, too, and I'll see what you guys think about this as well, is taking out Sycamores altogether and just playing 4 Mallows, right? I mean, 4 Ins, 4 Mallows, because we're in such a climate of cards where you don't want to get rid of anything. I mean, everything is so essential in the deck. I was thinking, okay, would 4 Mallows work? I mean, maybe not early game because you need that Zoroark, right? But could it?
Yeah, I think that could be interesting to mess around with. For sure, you could almost, like Tord's list. He only played 2 Sycamore. So I think you can justify the, Lessium Sycamore. I do think Sycamore is probably the most aggressive draw support we have in the game.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But the problem with it, though, if you're not getting, any rare candy deck, if you're getting your rare candies and your stage 2s in your hand, but nothing else, and you just have a basic, and you have to Sycamore it away. Otherwise, you're going to get donked. It's not even worth having. But just being able to set up a Zoroark and just mallowing for the pieces you need anyway, I think that's more consistent. So you can honestly cut your Sycamore list for sure.
Yeah, we live in such a meta now where it's slowed it down enough that if you can't do something on a turn, I mean, it can be painful depending on the situation, but you can get by with that now. I mean, Well,
Right.
we're in a format with those big basic Pokemon, and you've got those Darkrai's out, and they're just speed putting all those
Speed demons,
energies
right?
out. You can't afford to miss a turn, but it seems like that's more of an option now.
Yeah, so I think I'm not confident in this, but what I think we might see is perhaps a less count of Sycamore, and maybe it depends for the Zoroark builds. And you might see a less count of Sycamore, and maybe just a few more Mallows, and just more ways to get the Zoroarks out.
Well, we also have Shauna and How. So Shane, what's your opinion on a card like Shauna or How or even one of my favorite guys, Tierno, right?
Yeah, How and Tierno serving the exact same purpose. I messed around with them for quite a bit because, as you mentioned, having to throw away stuff with Sycamore, that can be very dangerous. So in decks that relied on rare candy and evolutions, I tried it. It was a little too slow, sadly, for me, but I definitely don't think anybody should discredit it. It's a great thing, instantly just getting 3 more cards in hand. You can't exactly complain with that. So I think that's great. Shauna, I have been a huge fan of Shauna for a long time, tried it in tons of different decks, and it worked out well. Sadly, they're coming out with Cynthia now, which is just Shauna, but for an extra card.
On steroids.
So, yes, Shauna was shuffle your hand to draw 5. Cynthia, shuffle your hand and draw 6.
Can you imagine if Cynthia looked like Buzzwole on the card? Just buffed? That'd be awesome.
Just a buffed out Cynthia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her Alolan form.
Well, that was my thought, too. So if you have How with the 3 extra cards and you got Zoroark GX there and you're getting 2 more cards, I could see that working more so now than ever before. Still not saying that How's the way to go by any means, but I can definitely see a place for it.
Well, I think an idea too with Lily, you can do similar.
Yes,
I think I see what you're saying because
and that's a supporter card I tend to forget about.
if
honestly.
you Ultra Ball for let's just say Ultra Ball for Zoroark and you have a hand of 5, just play the Lily, then get the Zoroark, and because you have the Zoroark, then you can get more cards. So yeah, I think something players can mess around with, or something like that. Cynthia is going to be really cool because Professor Oak's new theory, that was a great card to have in the format. The fact that we're getting pretty much just like a reprint is going to be super healthy for what we're getting. That means we can kind of mess with our end counts. I don't think people will drop all their ends for Cynthia because I think, in my opinion, they do different things and kind of can be disruptive, while Cynthia is consistently getting 6 cards. But it is adding a new draw support to the game that I think it's missing. So I'm going to be very interested to see how those builds in conjunction with stuff like Zoroark.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as well what the shift is there, getting away from a Sycamore and going more the Cynthia route and things like that. It's going to be like Shaman. I'm going to hate to see it go.
Oh, I will too. But we got a little bit of time before.
You're right.
Before Sun and Moon rotates, right?
Hey, it'll be here before you know it. That's the thing.
That's the sad truth.
Anyway, continue with what else did we see over there in London?
So let's go through the top 8. We had Zoroark Lissapod, Solvally Metal Box, pretty much. Gardevoir, infamous known as Broken Vor by Christopher Szymanski.
So here is Pokemon taking notice here, right? Do they even care? They're putting out all these metal Pokemon, so I guess there's something to that.
I guess it's just that's the tricky part, I would think, with owning a card game is that you have to keep it constantly in balance. And, you can't just have people just playing Gardevoir and running things. But that seems to be not the case with this tournament. But yeah, it seems like I think metal in general is just not as powerful archetype as it should be.
And Shane, I know you're excited about this because you're a Solgaleo player, and which I think that card's criminally underrated. But just Ultra Road alone, just think about that. But yeah, so you're excited.
First of all, thank you for saying that it's underrated. Most people, for the past year since Base Sun and Moon has come out, have been giving me trouble about sticking with Solgaleo.
Sure.
Ultra Road single-handedly won me a game at the St. Louis Regionals. Whenever I was facing Seismitoad Bats, I just kept Ultra Roading something else forward for them to chip away at, and they ended up decking themselves out because they tried to speed through. And so Ultra Road is incredible. Don't sleep on that. The attack, 230 damage. You put a choice band on that, you're one-shotting anything.
Right.
And now, with all the other support, the new Solgaleo GX, incredibly excited about. A double colorless energy, you're doing 120 base damage, and taking 2 energy from the discard and attaching to something on the bench. That's insane. And then, don't forget about the ability on it. All of your Pokemon have no weakness.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, especially with Entei GX running around, Volcanion, all these big fire Pokemon that are really good.
Exactly.
Now, Matt, you play Gardevoir, though,
Yeah,
right? So
right,
do you
yeah.
think this is going to influence like people not to play that deck, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I've been thinking about that a lot actually lately because I was a Mega Mewtwo player before this.
Right.
Gardevoir GX obviously got the same type of thing going on. I just think Gardevoir GX is inherently good.
I do too.
And I don't necessarily think it's going to affect it really that much. I mean, I think some people will be scared of playing the deck, and so they won't pick it up just because knowing that huge weakness is out there, But I don't see it being really a big deal. I don't know. It's a really hard question to answer because we don't know where the meta is going to be at the time and things like that. But I would say that ability is inherently just too good not to play.
Absolutely. And on that, I've always been under the impression that every single deck has a bad matchup. Not playing a deck just because of something else being good. Sure, in the competitive world, it is important to try and judge the format, judge what you think will be there. But at the same time, we have anticipated certain decks being at regionals and internationals that weren't there. Like, as we mentioned previously in the news segment, we were completely blown away that there was no Garbiter at all.
Right.
Like not seeing it in play, I certainly did not expect that. So it's really hard to predict what other people are going to play. So find something that you enjoy, that you are good at, and you are consistent with,
Right.
and just stick with that.
Yeah, and again, something else. I mean, we're talking about the triangle here, right? I mean, we got Gardevoir, then we're going to have Metal, but we're also going to have Fire. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, Fire for sure.
And so Metal, it's going to have a problem as well. I mean, it's not going to just simply come out and be this amazing archetype. I mean, we're going to see some problems for that as well. So, again, what you said there, Shane, play what you enjoy, and what you think you're good at, and what you're good at, and go with it.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of players think that. Now, I understand there's definitely a value in if like predicting the meta, but there's also a lot of merit in if you're very skilled. Like, let's just say you're a very skilled Decidueye player, and like you know what you're doing, you can navigate those matchups. Like,
oh, for sure.
If like I am confident that John Kettler can navigate a Volcanion matchup, and that he's tested that. So like I think there's like two schools of thought: play what you think is going to counter everything, or play what you are confident in, like your experience in. I kind of lean towards that you should test what you want to play well in advance, and then just stick to your guns.
Yeah, I mean that's so true. I made that mistake back when I was playing Mega Mewtwo, right? I never actually got to play that deck in a tournament. I loved the deck, but I never got a chance to until Garb was out, right? And it was very. It stinks so bad because I want to go out and play it.
Man, you can still play it.
I know.
I know
It's still a thing, but
let me get through the rest of this.
Yeah.
So last of this top list. So we actually saw one Greninja deck. Of course, Michael Long is like the Greninja hero right now.
Yeah, every time I see Michael Long on stream, I'm like Greninja, and every time it's Greninja.
It's the same list too.
Good for him, and he's proven that point.
Exactly. I was going to say that brings us right to that point there. We saw two Buzzwole Lycanroc decks taking the 5th and 6th spots. Volcanion, I think it was one of few that made it through to day 2 in the 7th spot, and then Zoroark Golisopod at 8th. And as we go down, it's just mostly Zoroark decks, a few Gardevoirs. There's actually, I think, 3 Garbodor decks made it to day 2. Only 3.
Wow, that's incredible.
Think about like what was it, Seattle? This is about like past season where it was almost all Garbodor.
I was glad to see some Buzzwole up there, though, because I know we were talking about Buzzwole a lot, and I know, Shane, you're testing with Buzzwole a little bit right now. But I was glad to see Buzzwole make day 2 because that card was so up in the air. I mean, we all thought it was going to be good, but we wasn't sure.
Yeah, absolutely. At first, I felt like a lot of people weren't giving it the attention that it deserved, and then for a brief period there, it seemed like everybody was hyping it.
Right.
And then now it also seems like it's starting to fall off. So it's like a big bandwagon thing. But certainly, I think it's a very good card. It can outspeed many things instantly for 1 energy, start doing some chip damage on 2 Pokemon at a time, strong energy, increasing that number. Acerola in a deck like that. I was playing it with a Zygarde Regirock build because Zygarde Regirock was one of my all-time favorite decks back in the day.
It makes Zygarde and Regirock, I mean, somewhat viable now, right? I
exactly.
mean, it's,
because the solo grass weakness, if I came across a grass deck, I just completely lost.
Sure.
In a tournament, I went completely undefeated until I ran across a grass deck and just instantly was shut out. Still ended up placing second, but it was still, that weakness was irritating. Now, with Buzzwole, I have a different weakness that I can attack with.
Yeah, and Garb,
psychic.
And Garb's starting to disappear a little bit more, so that helps Buzzwole as well. So,
well, okay, so that goes us through the top 8. Now, there was a few interesting cards we're starting to see pop up.
Yeah.
And a lot of them actually appear in Towards lists. Not surprising. One of them being Mewtwo, Evolutions Mewtwo, which we used to see actually around Worlds. Actually, I've been playing it in my Zoric Decidueye deck. It is clutch.
Yeah, I believe that, and I'm so glad Mewtwo has found a place. Yeah.
So it has that first attack for a DCE, does 20 plus 20 times the amount of energy on your opponents, and it hits weakness. So at a previous league challenge I was just at, I actually ended up hitting a Gardevoir for I think 210.
That's
with
crazy.
Choice Band, with they had 3 DCEs on there and a few energies, and it's for those kind of situations, that deck is going to run rampant.
Single prize attacker too,
as well as softening up Buzzwole, because you are hitting it for, I think, let's see here, they have an energy on them. You're hitting them for at least maybe 120 or at least 60 to nothing else.
Yeah.
So that's a card that's been seeing a lot of play in a bunch of different decks.
And I love that too, because I want to see more cards used in that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like cards you wouldn't naturally or look at and think, okay, I could use this in something. Like, really discover these cards coming out, because I'm sure Pokemon has some ideas here with some of these cards that maybe we're just not thinking of. I mean,
spicy text, I guess
sure.
is what they're called.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously there's a lot of cards in each set that just aren't worth anything. They're just for the binder kind of thing, but they're collection. But yeah, there are a lot of cards that we're just missing out on.
Yeah, so I remember seeing this Mewtwo Evolutions used to pop up in Yveltal Garbodor back when that would definitely help you take out other Garbodors. Actually, it helps you take out Espeon too.
Yes.
Those De-Evolution Espeon, which is really popular right now. So I think that's definitely a card to be on the lookout for. I think that card's going to see a lot more play as Buzzwole enters the format.
De-Evolution...
Oh, you don't like it.
So annoying. Anyway, I'm sorry.
You don't like
I'll
that.
Stop.
It definitely can be frustrating too when you play Gardevoirs. So you have these set of Gardevoirs, and then they get to devolve to a routes and...
Yeah, I remember the first time we played, at least when you had the Espeon in there, and I didn't realize you did, and I was like, oh, he's spreading all his stamina, that's cool. Oh, this is why he's doing that. Espeon.
That makes that matchup work. Otherwise, I would just get ran.
No, it makes sense.
The other card, and this is one I thought about for a while, I'm surprised people weren't playing, but now they are, Mr. Mime. That's the one that prevents damage done to your bench. And I remember I had a friend who played Gyarados back in last season, and that card kept those Magic Carps alive. We're starting to see that again with these decks that are afraid of Buzzwole and afraid of Little Ninetales. And Tapu Koko promo, preventing the spread, I think is the big thing. So we're starting to see people taking that card in there, and I think it's splashable in every deck, really. So that might be something we start seeing more too, with spread being kind of popular now.
Yeah, it seems like with the meta as well right now is there's so many different cards to use, so many viable options to use in different decks or maybe the same deck. I mean, like Tapu Koko promo, right? I mean, you could pretty much throw that card into any deck you want.
It's a pivot. It's got free retreat.
Yeah, so it's cards like that right now that are really changing the game up and giving us more options, and I personally love that.
Now, the one thing, and this is still talking about Towards lists, and I think one of the most, I've seen a lot more of my friends have been discussing it, so I wonder if other people are too. 3, Bridget.
Yeah, and we'll actually touch on that coming up in just a moment. You're listening to Draw7TV. Thank you for joining us here on the podcast. We'll discuss Zoroark, is it good for every list? And Towards list 3, Bridget.
3, Bridget. You're going to have to find out what we think about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up in just a moment here on Draw7TV.
Well, it's obvious you like Pokemon. Do you like other video games as well? Join me as I'll be streaming other games such as Overwatch or Fortnite or, well, just what I'm feeling that night. Yeah, join us on youtube.com/Draw7TV. We'll be doing a lot more streaming of video games along with some Pokemon as well. We thank you, as always, for joining us, and we hope you enjoy all the content here on Draw7TV.
You're listening to the Draw7TV podcast. Welcome back. Matt Horst alongside Andrew Martin and Shane Chettle. And Tord Reklov, the big winner of the London Internationals.
Yeah. Actually, back-to-back Internationals. Intercontinental champion.
Absolutely crazy. But so we asked before the break, he's running 3 Bridget in the deck.
3 Bridget. Now, let me just go down the whole list.
Sure, let's hear it.
Just so the listeners are clued in. So he runs a pretty Now it's Zorak Galistopod, and in an interview he actually specified Zorak Galistopod. So actually Zorak's taking a primary role here. Galistopod's actually a secondary.
You know
card.
what? In my mind, that it makes sense. It does.
After playing tested a little bit, I totally can see that. So it'll be evident in this list. He plays 4 Zorua, and then 4 Zorak GX. So consistency. He plays one of the breakthrough Zoraks, which I think makes a lot of sense. That having that stand-in attack or ability rather. So it's almost like a little Keldeo, but it has the Mind Jack attack, which can do up to 190 choice banded. And that's crazy. That's absolutely insane to have a Pokemon hit that high off a 100 HP Pokemon. He's playing 3 Wimpod. Obviously the Wimp Out one for the free retreat. So when you start it, you can just retreat it back, that's such a great synergy with all his deck. And then only 2 Galistopod. It's a little surprising.
So he runs a 2-2?
He runs a 3-2.
3-2, okay.
Yeah, and I think the Galistopods are just there to hit numbers, makes some matchups a lot easier.
Well, yeah, because you're thinking, so you're obviously with that deck, you're one or you're 2-shotting everything. So in this situation, if you ace a roll up a Zoroark or whatever, you can bring that Galistopod up, hit for the number to knock out something, so on and so forth. So it makes complete sense.
3 Tapu Lele, which is not surprising, especially from Torrid. It's the first man I ever saw play 4 Lele in a deck.
I was going to say he played 4, and it was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This works. The consistency is so incredible.
I think it was something we always knew was going to happen, but in last year's format, we didn't want to. It was like, for me, I was like, I don't want to have to buy more Leles. But ultimately, it's the consistency. I think that's key. Plays the Tapu Koko promo. Again, the free retreat. Great for Galistopod. Great just in general for spreading and making numbers easy for him. I think for Gardevoir especially, if you can just, I think one flying flip, and then you hit your numbers really well. I think just the 110 or the 150, you can 2-shot a lot of things. And the Leles are 1-shottable after that, so wow. That actually would really help that deck.
See, this is just a game of math. That's
math.
all it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Out here. Get on down.
Then I failed basic math so many times. Anyway, go ahead with the list.
But you didn't fail radio.
You're right. That's
where it counts.
Right. Thank you.
And what we discussed earlier, he's played the Mewtwo and the Mr. Mime. We already talked about that earlier. Great cards, great tech cards, actually. Very fulfilling with their purposes. I think they probably got him a lot of better matchups up across the board. Now going to the trainers. Consistency. 4 N, 4 Guzma, 3 Bridget. How about that?
Okay, so I know, Shane, you're pretty opinionated on this this 3 Bridget thing. Or just Bridget in general, right? So 3 Bridget. What's up with that?
I love it. I remember back whenever Bridget was first coming into the limelight, everybody was just saying, just 1 Bridget. And I'm kind of a freak for consistency.
Sure.
One-ofs in decks absolutely terrify me because I have horrible luck with the card I need always being prized. So I started playing just 2 and everything. And that got a lot of weird looks. Tons of people were telling me, oh, you're building the deck wrong. Oh, that's not how you do it. And I was just like, nah, it's working out for me. So to see now that a very well-established player is not just playing 2, but playing 3, it brings me joy.
Now, one thing that I think is very interesting, and I think makes a lot of sense with the Zorks in the deck. So the problem, I've seen the argument with like playing the 3 Bridges, like you're only going to use it your first turn. Why would you want that? Obviously for the consistency. But then the other 2 aren't dead cards. You actually can just use them for that trade ability and then thin your deck out, and you're not really losing too much. It's better to trade away a supporter you're never intending to use again than giving away God forbid, a supporter that
but
you might
also
need.
Have that option there in case you need to use it.
Because one thing that's terrible is having to discard draw support early on, like getting rid of Sycamores and Ends. You really don't want to do that.
Yeah, there's been so many games where I'm sitting there with like 2 Ends in my hand and a Sycamore and an Ultra Ball, and it's like, okay, do I get rid of the Ends? Do I get rid of the Sycamore?
And you just know after you do that, you're like, I'm going to dead draw in like 3 turns.
Oh yeah, there's so many issues that brings with it. But
yeah, and also, as you said, he plays 4 Lele, but most people I know, 3 Lele? Just 3.
4 Lele in the in his Garb deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just 3, but still, normally I tend to see people play 2 to 3, so that's pretty standard right now. But not like having to play a Lele first turn for the Bridget is amazing. So even with 2, the amount of times that I start a Bridget in hand, that not having to waste a bench space or not having to waste a Lele that early is incredible. and it's helped me out immensely in many games.
Well, and it's something else too that Bridget, you want you want your bench filled up for Zoroark. I mean, that's another thing that crossed my mind too. So even playing Bridget later is fine with me because it adds more power to Zoroark.
Yeah, I had a buddy who just played this deck, actually. I took it to a League Challenge when I was at, and he was telling me he had very good success with playing the 3 Bridget. He's actually started, I think, most of his games. I think he only had like 2 games where he didn't start it. And once you get the Bridget off, if your opponent can't, it's a speed game, right? So after you get that first Bridget out, if your opponent can't match that speed, you're going to be in control for a while. So I think just being able to start it, like you said, Shade, it definitely keeps your pace going. And not having to bench the Lele definitely saves you resources later on.
Well, something else that's interesting about this deck is, and I noticed this on stream as well, I mean, he got down to very few cards in deck, but that was completely fine because you're going through your deck so quickly, you're getting what you need most of the time, hopefully when you need it, and when you have 3 Zoroarks sitting out there, I mean, that's 6 extra cards?
Right, it's almost a whole new hand.
Yeah, so, consistency really, that's the thing players need to think about, and that's why a lot of these decks are so good, and some rogue decks just don't work.
Absolutely. So let's moving farther down the list. We have 3 Acerola. Man, that makes sense. It's a Galistopod deck too. And just being allowed to pick up any of your Pokemon.
I'm surprised there's only 3 in there. Honestly, I would assume there would have been a 4.
Yeah, maybe. I think he had to really. Well, I think he plays 4 Field Blower. We'll get to that later. I think he had to squeeze in some cards there. So maybe if he had time to. He didn't have to worry about some things. He might fit the 4th one in there, but
and hopefully he's not having to Acerola 4 times. So that makes sense as well.
Towards an experienced player, no one can argue that. He's definitely tested this deck. I'm sure maybe 3 was where he just found this is what I need as the bare essentials.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he'd appreciate a 4th one. I could definitely see that.
And you can't overlook when somebody tests something so much and puts so many hours into something. I mean Yeah,
and we're definitely seeing a product of that here. So the next interesting bit to Professor Sycamore, I think because of that tradability he has going on there, he doesn't actually need to discard his whole hand all the time. I think with like you said, 3 Zoroarks out, that's 6 new cards he has options for. So the Sycamores definitely you need to be aggressive if you have a dead hand and you absolutely need to draw. I think Sycamore is the way to go, but I think cutting that down to 2 is very smart. I wouldn't cut the end line. I think the Sycamore is the way you want to do it. 1 Mallow, and we talked about that earlier, with Zoroark has perfect synergy. And for someone who plays puzzles, I think that makes so much sense.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, right? Puzzle of Time. Okay, this has actually been one of my favorite cards for a while now. Not seeing play, and I get the whole thing of, okay, so, the chances of getting 2 in a hand is pretty low, blah, blah, blah. But when you can do that and you rely on certain things in your discard to get back, especially without VS Seeker and things like that now, I just think that card's so good, and I won't be surprised if we start seeing a lot of people play Puzzle of Times.
I think it's definitely seen a resurgence.
Yeah, I think so too.
He plays 4, of course, and his list getting to the item cards now. And the 4 puzzles, it's just there's not a whole lot of cycling in this format. There's you can play beefier supporter counts, and that's about it.
Yeah, Shane, what's your thoughts on Puzzle of Time? I mean, I know that's a card you play in a few of your decks that I've seen, but what's your thought on that card?
I think it's a great card. You brought up one of my problems with it is having 2 of them in your hand at the same time. It is a problem in many decks. I think the main deck that I've been able to make it work in pretty well is Groudon. Primal Groudon,
that's the deck I was trying to think of.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite decks. It's just so much fun to just sit there, attach an energy, look at your opponent, and just say pass for 4 turns. But yeah, because with that, you're just building your hand up. You're getting the cards you need over time. And so in stuff like that, I think it works phenomenal.
Well, and Puzzle of Time actually does make sense in this deck a lot, too, because you're thinking about it, since you are trading so much, the chances of you getting that second Puzzle of Time is pretty darn high.
Absolutely. I agree, yeah. With that deck, each turn, with that ability resetting and you just being able to cycle and just tear through your deck, odds are you're going to find what you're digging for.
Exactly. All right, Andrew, so what's the rest of the list here?
All right, so moving down the line, of course, 4 Ultra Ball. Not surprising there.
Of course.
So it's the standard way to do it. 4 Field Blowers. This man.
You know what? Honestly,
makes sense, though. It makes a lot of sense.
I'm not surprised by this at all. I know I said that earlier about something else, but really, I'm not surprised because Field Blower is so clutch, especially if you are taking on Garbotoxin or something like that, especially in a deck where you need those abilities.
It's smart, too. You're going to find it when you need it, as opposed to when you play 2, you're not really going to see it. And if your opponent doesn't know you're playing 4, like let's just like I would assume someone's playing 2, and like you play 2, they're like, cool, I'm gonna go crazy with my tool cards and my stadiums, and then Tord would be like, oh, that's cool, field blower it all away. I play more and I play puzzles. So.
Yeah, and there's been so many times I know in testing for myself where it's like I get rid of something early game, but then I find out, oh man, I really need a field blower here late game. And if you have 4, I mean, you're not going to use that many that early. So yeah, and with the puzzle of times there as well, if you do need a 5th or a 6th one, you can do it.
Yeah, I definitely very consistent, and I think definitely benefited him in the long run, as we can see his results here.
Definitely, yeah.
2 Enhanced Hammer. We've seen Enhanced Hammer coming back in the format, especially after the first set of Volcanion lists started playing it. Starting to see a resurgence. Takes out the Gardevoirs out there, helps the mirror matches. I think Enhanced Hammer is a strong card in this format.
Yeah, one of my favorite decks, Rainbow Road. I played in a tournament, and each player that I played against played 2 Enhanced Hammers, which obviously you can get around that by just timing out when you play the DCEs and things like that. But man, knowing people are playing Enhanced Hammers now, which I think they should have been to begin with, it's crazy. You know, it really can destroy you.
Yeah, I've been messing around with 2 Enhanced Hammers and Galissapod for quite a while, taking them in and out, being like, this seems to work pretty well. But whenever I'd show people the list, it normally would be, you don't really need those right now. So again, a little bit of that justification makes me feel happy that, you know, these top players are showing that, yes, these ideas are working. Whenever I first started facing Volcanion decks that were playing 2 of them, they would just completely shut me down. Whenever I'd play Galissapod, I was already having a hard enough time facing weakness, let alone they're shutting down being able to get off that GX attack, something if I'm setting one up on the bench. It's so mean because...
Well, why not play the Enhanced Hammers?
Yeah.
I mean, especially now. I mean, especially Strong Energy becoming a thing. I mean, DCE is so prominent in so many decks. Rainbow Energy, we're seeing that all around. Why not?
Yeah, a few Metal decks and Volk are really the only decks that come to mind that aren't playing Special Energy right now.
Right.
It's so common currently, so it makes total sense to me.
Yep. So I'm so glad to see it around. And it's not a coin flip. You play it, you're doing it.
Yeah, you get the immediate benefit from it, and I think just playing the 1 almost changes the dynamic between you and your opponent, because now he has to play a little bit more defensively. Maybe he had a more of aggressive strategy.
Well, it's a mind game there, too. It really is.
Yeah, it can definitely swing matchups in your favor.
All right, so let's finish up the list. What's next?
All right, so finishing out the item card and trainer cards, rather, 2 choice ban. No surprises there. Just helps everything hit the numbers pretty well. I think we all can see that one pretty easy inclusion for Tord. Then the energy, 4 double colors, 3 Geist energy. So not a whole lot of energy, but like you said, his deck's thinning out a lot quickly. So he's probably finding those fairly easy. And with the Mallow and everything else he needs, I think that the energy's fine. He can just find what he needs quickly.
And this is really a resource management type of game. And if you're able to manage those resources and pull so many out per turn, I mean, you're going to win.
I think that's a skill set that I think a lot of players have to develop is what can I do? How can I use my cards the most efficiently?
Right.
Like earlier, if I'm going to Ultra Ball away something in my hand, and let's just say I have a hand of good stuff that I don't want to get rid of, what is going to be the least detrimental to late game? Like early players like to Ultra Ball, draw supporters away.
Right.
That ends up being a bad move later on because that can totally ruin your plan later whenever, let's say, you get that end of 1. You need that Sycamore top deck. Ultra Balling those away early on can generally come back to bite you. Not always, but most generally.
But it can, yeah.
People like Tor definitely have to know how to manage their resources for so many games throughout the day. You have to be critical in every move.
Well, and that's something else too. I always tell new players, and I'm still learning this too, is don't expect you go out there your first couple of weeks and play this game and be able to manage your resources super well. It's really, you got to know your matchups for one. You've got to know your deck inside and out, which I know I still struggle with deck checks and things like that. And
not just your deck, your prizes too.
No, definitely.
If you have 2 Sycamore prize, make sure you aren't discarding the other one. So if you don't get a chance to take a prize, it could bite you. But it preaches how important those resources are. But anyway, I guess all in all, congratulations to Tord. I mean, heck of a list. And I know we didn't get much time tonight to talk about Zach Kreckler's list, but man, it was really cool also. And it's cool seeing something a little bit different on the stream. Yeah, shout out for taking the finalist spot home to St. Louis.
Yeah, it's really cool. I know we're close to St. Louis, so for us, it's hometown boy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and
congrats to him and all the other Yeti players. It's very good. Congratulations.
And before Before we end the segment here, I know something we were talking about earlier is about Zoroark GX. So is it good for every deck? I mean, it's one of those cards that is inherently good, just like Gardevoir, but can we see Zoroark GX in every deck?
I'm going to say no, but I think it's the same thing we used to see Garbodor with.
Sure.
In Garbotoxin, too. Like, Garbodor paired with a good attacker. Boom. Match made in heaven. That's why you had those like Garbodor, Golisopod, Garbodor, Drampa, Garbodor, Espeon. Those cards are great attackers on their own, so put them with Garbodor, and then you have a deck. But Zoroark, great card. I think that card, though, synergizes very well with stuff that needs to recycle resources and cards that need to, like I play with Decidueye now, and I used to play Decidueye Ninetales. Switch over to Zoroark build. It boosts its consistency. It's an attacker for a deck that doesn't have one. I think for that kind of deck, like decks that need something that can attack every turn, like Golisopod.
Right.
Golisopod hits 120 when you can, and that's very good. Having the Zoroark that can also hit 120 consistently, even better. And then you have Golisopod to come in at the end, and it can use Armor Press to make numbers better. It can use Crossing Cut GX to just Choice Bandit knocks out Lele's. So the synergy's there, but it doesn't happen with every deck. I don't think you could play it with... Like, I don't think I could see merit for like maybe a Gardevoir Zoroark deck, but it starts to get a little silly outside of that.
Yeah, I've considered that as well. I know I tested it in Rainbow Road also, but B Sharp was just much better for that deck. But yeah, I don't think it's for everything. And Shane, I mean, with some of the decks you're testing right now, what decks do you see Zoroark working for you, and what decks you're like, wait a minute, I'm just gonna not even touch this thing?
That's a really good question. It's one of those cards that I've looked at and I've known it's a good card. And like as we're seeing here, it's being played in a lot of decks. It's proven. It's good, but it's something that I haven't thought about integrating into many of my decks.
Right.
I feel like any deck that runs DCE already, you can look at it and go, that can fit. But then does it synergize well? So yes, it will fit, but do you really need it is the thing. So it's really hard to say what decks I think it could be good in. I think we'll just have to wait and see what everybody tests it with.
Right, yeah, I totally respect that answer for sure.
Now, the flip side to it is that once you run it, you're now giving anything that runs Buzzwole an easy knockout on the Zarulas. That's one thing I think people it's something to keep in mind, is that Buzzwole's starting to take off now, too. So if that card becomes bigger, I don't think every deck can necessarily afford that early game pressure.
Losing that to weakness there.
Yeah. So just something to keep in mind.
Well, same thing with Drampa Garb,
absolutely,
right? You know, I think Drampa's a great card. I still think it is. But, man, with Buzzwole and fighting becoming a thing now, I mean, it's like, okay, maybe I'm going to have to think twice about this, and maybe the Espeon version is going to be better for that reason.
And really quick sidebar, since you were talking about fighting and we're on the subject of DCE, what is your guys' opinion on Silvally GX? We saw a little bit of it here at the regionals, but I have personally been testing it in tons of different variants. I've done Dark, Fighting, Fairy, and I think one other, and it's been incredible. It's a very versatile card. I love it. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question.
I think that card's about ready to become the bane of a lot of players' existence, because the way I see it is that if you have a bad matchup with a certain deck, and I'm not saying every deck can do this, but if you run DCE and Energy, you suddenly have an amazing 240 attacker. For Zoroarks, you can just play the fighting memory we have now, and instant knockouts, you're consistently knocking them out, and you're accelerating Energy. That's a sick combo. Not to mention, we're also getting fire and electric energy. Oh my gosh, Metal's getting a huge bump right now. So if people run Silvally with a fire memory, you're now getting not only like 2 prizes and energy buff, it's just and free retreat. There's just so much that card's going to add.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Silvally. I think it's very good. Obviously, the ability is amazing as well. But through talking with certain people, it's almost like they're not even worrying about the ability. It's more so the attack. But the memories of what got me excited. I mean, being able to pop that memory on there and hitting for weakness, that's pretty darn cool. I mean,
we saw that in Kreckler's list, right? With,
yeah, right.
The 2 fighting memories.
Yeah.
Definitely clears up Zoroark.
And he played the Genesect EX with the energy, or not the energy drive, the drive change.
Yeah,
ability.
So you just attach it to the Genesect, and if you put it in the active, just get it back.
Yeah, that was a brilliant idea.
Now, the one thing we are getting that might, just to piggyback off that, we're getting the new Magearna that has the same idea, but you can just do it whenever you want. So we might start seeing that kind of thing too with Silvally, where you can just attach it to this Magearna, get it back to your hand whenever you need to, and boom, you're off to the races.
Yeah, I think Silvally, to answer that, Shane, is I think it's got a bright future, and I think it's a lot better than people think. And this is something we can talk about on the next episode.
Sure.
But the new set, right? It got so much crap against it. But, man, I don't know. There's some pretty good stuff in here, and I think we'll see the remnants of that moving into the next set for sure.
Absolutely. I think the meta's about ready to shift again in a big way.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. All right, guys, you're listening to Draw7TV, the podcast. We thank you so much for joining us. We'll have our closing thoughts on just whatever coming up after this.
Before we get to our next segment, I just want to say a quick thank you to all my friends and family that's helped me out so much with this podcast and Draw7TV idea I had a year or so ago. We've really done some cool stuff with this, and we just hit 200 subs on our YouTube page, which is a huge step for us. So a big thank you to all of my friends and family who's helped us get this ball rolling, and we can't wait to see what is in the future for Draw7TV. We thank you for listening, and again, we hope you stick around for more content as we continue to push it out for you.
Welcome back to Draw7TV. Matt Horst here with you, Andrew Martin, and Shane Chettle here alongside as well. And that's going to wrap up this episode. Closing thoughts now, guys. We're so excited to be doing this podcast, and I know we've got a lot of big things coming up in the near future, and guys, we've got this YouTube page taken off with different things. And Shane, what excites you for the future here at Draw7?
I am absolutely excited about everything. I know that we have a few little videos that we're gonna be doing.
Sure,
I believe.
yeah.
Is it too soon to leak the information about?
It may be a little bit too soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we got some
Next episode we'll have that info for you.
Ooh, a little cliffhanger for you guys. Some spicy stuff coming up in the next podcast for sure. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, Matt and I were talking the other day. We discussed a few really exciting video ideas, and I think it's definitely going to be a good blend of like what we're both into, and I think we're excited to share with you guys. So definitely stay tuned. And let us know in the comments, like, what do you want to see? What kind of videos excite you that you think you'd want to see from us? We'd love to hear that.
Well, I think our big thing, too, is what we want to do here, at least in my mind. I want to not only integrate just having a podcast, but I want our YouTube page to be kind of one and the same with the podcast. So you can listen to the podcast and expect content on our YouTube page, and then you can watch our YouTube page and expect content on our podcast from what we talk about and things like that. So I just want things to work really as a cohesive unit, and right now we just hit 200 subs on
Congrats.
our YouTube page. I'm super excited about that. I mean, I remember when Sierra and I started, and you can go back and watch the videos, which are over a few thousand views now. Not that I'm happy about that.
How much is that Decidueye video ads?
I don't even know. You know what, Andrew? I don't want to talk about
To
it.
preference for our viewers out there, there's one video. It's him and Sierra playing. Matt absolutely hates the video, but it's the most watched video on his channel by far.
Absolutely hate it.
6,000 views.
Yeah, so it's over 6,000. I know at this point.
You were just starting out though. That was like your third video.
Yeah, I was like, no, that was my first video.
That was your
pretty
first?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh my
that
gosh.
was the first one on there.
You hit it on the mark.
Yeah, I was like, oh, great. And I think the next day, whatever deck we played, it's escaping my mind now, but was like the biggest thing on Google. Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is nuts.
Oh, well, you're on your way back there.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're going to be doing that. We've got some cool video ideas, like you said, coming up, and just so much stuff. So very excited.
Yeah, still expect the tabletop videos. Those are still coming out.
Oh, yeah, and actually, let's preview the next tabletop video up on the page.
So we thought it would be a good idea to test out. There's the new Gallistopod Zorak deck we just got done talking about, or Zorak Gallistopod, rather.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be also testing out Broken Gardevoir, seeing if it really holds up, it is really as broken as it claims to be.
Yeah, very excited about trying that, because I've actually not played that build yet.
Right, and you're a huge Gardevoir player, so that'll be very interesting for you to play it.
Yeah, it's going to be different. I'm going to be like, I don't know what to do.
We'll also have some expanded matches coming your way, too. We're going to try the new Gyarados build that just got played at the San Jose, took top 5.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about that.
As well as experimenting with Night March with Zorak. We're going to try to see how those decks function now. A lot of good stuff coming out right now, so we're excited. We're excited to test some decks.
And Shane, any final thoughts before we check out on episode number 1?
I'm just again gonna say how excited I am to see exactly where all this goes. Again, congratulations on hitting 200 subscribers. That's incredible, and I can't wait to see where the channel goes.
Very appreciative. And Andrew, any final thoughts?
Oh, thanks for having us on. I'm excited to take this venture with you. It's going to be a lot of fun going forward.
Very, very excited. And I got to get off here because I got to go play some Ultra Sun.
Yeah, you do.
I've got to
catch up.
I got to get Rally going. I got to get Halucha. I got to get Zohar. I got to beat you.
All right, man, you got to go play.
I got to go play. Thanks for joining us here on the Draw7 podcast, episode number 1. So very thankful for having you alongside, and we will see you for episode number 2 next week.